This week, we have been following one pattern across 2,000 years of history. Someone discovers something, writes something, or builds something that threatens the authority of a powerful institution. The institution does not debate it. It does not investigate it and prove it wrong. It moves to destroy the person, the work, or both. And then it goes silent. Because silence is more effective than censorship. Censorship draws attention. Silence makes things disappear. We have seen this pattern play out in a banned scripture that vanished from the Western world for 1,500 years. In a cancer machine that achieved a 16 for 16 recovery rate and was dismantled along with the career of the man who built it. In two journalists who died before they could publish what they knew. In classified government files on objects that defy explanation. In 40 years of reincarnation research that mainstream science has never debunked and never discussed. Now, let's talk about the man whose books the United States government burned, under a federal court order, with federal agents watching it happen. His name was Wilhelm Reich. Act 2, the student who became a threat. Wilhelm Reich was not a fringe figure when this story begins. He was a respected Austrian psychiatrist. He had studied directly under Sigmund Freud, one of the most influential names in the history of psychology. Reich's early work on character armor and muscular tension laid groundwork that modern somatic therapy still builds on today. But Reich kept following a thread that took him further and further from the mainstream. He became convinced he had discovered a measurable physical life energy. He called it orgone, a universal force present in the atmosphere, in living organisms, in the body itself. He believed blockages in this energy were the root cause of both psychological and physical illness, including cancer. To test his theory, Reich built a device. A simple box, lined with alternating layers of organic and metallic material. He called it the orgone accumulator. People would sit inside it, claiming it could relieve pain and improve health. He moved his operation to Rangeley, Maine, building a research compound called Organon. From there, his foundation shipped accumulators by mail order across the country. And that is the moment Wilhelm Reich's work stopped being a scientific dispute and became a legal one. Act 3, the injunction. In 1947, 2 magazine articles condemned Reich's work as quackery and sexual cultism. Those articles put Reich on the radar of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. In February 1954, the FDA filed a civil complaint against Reich, his wife, and his foundation. Their claim, the orgone accumulator was a misbranded medical device under federal food and drug law. Because the literature shipped alongside it made therapeutic claims the FDA considered false. Reich did not respond the way most defendants would. He refused to appear in court at all. His position: a federal judge had no jurisdiction over a scientific discovery. He argued this was a matter for science to settle, not law. The court did not see it that way. With Reich absent, the injunction was issued by default. It banned the interstate shipment of orgone accumulators, and it banned the interstate shipment of the literature describing them. Reich considered this the latest in a long line of persecutions against him. His books were burned by the Nazis in Germany in the 1930s for views considered dangerous. Now, in America, his work could not legally cross state lines. He ignored the injunction. Act 4, the violation. While Reich was away in Arizona conducting unrelated experiments, his associate, Michael Silvert, transported a truckload of orgone accumulators and Reich's literature from Maine to New York. That was a direct violation of the 1954 injunction. Both Reich and Silvert were charged with criminal contempt of court. In May 1956, a jury trial was held. Reich, representing himself, was found guilty. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. Silvert received a year and a day. The Wilhelm Reich Foundation itself was fined $10,000. But the sentencing was not the end of the order. The court went further. It ordered the destruction of the orgone accumulators themselves, and it ordered the destruction of the literature, pamphlets, labeling, and any printed material that referenced Reich's concept of life energy at all. Not just the devices the FDA considered misbranded, the idea itself, in print, wherever it appeared. Act 5. The Burning. In June 1956, at Organon in Maine, Reich's son and associates destroyed orgone accumulators with axes. FDA officials observed, ensuring the destruction occurred, but did not participate themselves. Weeks later, agents returned. This time, the target was paper, Reich's books and promotional materials. 251 copies of his books and promotional materials were burned under FDA supervision. On August 23, 1956, the final phase began. 6 tons of Reich's works were transported. His published works, journals, and papers were destroyed in a New York City incinerator. This destruction was under federal supervision by order of a United States federal court. A man who survived Nazi book burnings now saw his works destroyed a second time, this time by his adopted country, with the full legal authority of the federal government. Reich began serving his sentence at Lewisburg Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. He never finished it. In November 1957, Wilhelm Reich died in prison. He was 60 years old, dying of heart failure 2 months before his scheduled parole. Act 6. What happened after? The story did not end with Reich's death. In 1960, Farrar, Straus, and Giroux reprinted Reich's work. Its founder called the book burning an extreme act of censorship. Sadly, Reich did not live to see this vindication. Through the 1960s, Reich's ideas on sexual repression and personal liberation became central to the counterculture movement. The phrase sexual revolution is often traced directly back to his profound influence. Orgone accumulators became a fad. The word Reichian entered common usage, becoming an adjective for his concepts. The man whose work the government tried to erase became, within a decade, a reference point for a cultural movement. The FDA's case focused on misbranded medical devices. Yet, what was destroyed went far beyond that initial scope. Pamphlets, bulletins, journals, any printed reference to a theory the court couldn't evaluate was destroyed. Agents were only allowed to watch it happen. Act 7. The Verdict. This week we have followed one pattern. A book quoted as scripture for centuries, erased and never explained. A cancer treatment with a perfect trial record, dismantled and never addressed. 2 women with dangerous information, dead within years of each other, their evidence gone. A classified government program, confirmed as real, then silenced. 40 years of academic research the scientific establishment has never debunked and never discussed. And now, a federal court that did not just regulate a medical device. It ordered the burning of ideas in print by the United States government in living memory. 6 tons of paper. 1 incinerator. Federal agents standing guard to make sure it was done right. That happened in America in 1956. The question, as always, is what else they decided you were never supposed to know. Before we close out today, I want to tell you what's coming to this channel starting tomorrow. Next week, Illuminated Infamy is spending 7 days inside one of the strangest, most suppressed literary legacies in the English language. Oscar Wilde Week begins Friday, and it is not what you think it is. Most people know the broad outline. Famous playwright, scandal, prison. That is where the popular story begins and ends. What that story leaves out is far more interesting than what it keeps. It leaves out the editor who secretly gutted Wilde's only novel before a single reader ever saw it, cutting 500 words from the manuscript without asking and without telling. The version everyone has read for over a century was not the version Wilde actually wrote. It leaves out the seances. In 1923, a Dublin medium claimed Oscar Wilde's spirit started talking again. The transcripts she produced were specific, literary, and deeply strange. They pulled in some of the most famous names in the English-speaking world to argue about whether they were real. It leaves out the tomb. The monument built over his grave in Paris was so controversial that French authorities covered it in plaster and kept it under police guard for 2 years before anyone was allowed to see it. The man who finally unveiled it was Aleister Crowley. And on Thursday, this channel will walk through the 3 trials in full that took the most celebrated writer in England and destroyed everything he had built in less than 4 months. 7 days. One of history's most dangerous authors. Subscribe now so you don't miss a single one.